The NES is remembered as a system in the days when it was a simpler time. No internet, smartphones, just good old straightforward gaming. With games like Super Mario Bros., Mega Man, and Zelda, it's no wonder why people thought of these days as simple. There were no long patches or big stories, it was just gameplay, which while it is just fine, it could leave the game feeling a bit bland. However, in 1988, one game came to change what people thought about gaming, Ninja Gaiden, the game that started the Ninja Gaiden series. This game would incorporate a story, cutscenes, and a lot of what made gaming and stories what they are today, and it also taught us what real butt whooping is, but whatever. So today we will obviously be taking a look at Ninja Gaiden, so let's take a look at how this game is. First, let's talk about one of the main draws of the game, the cutscenes and the story. Ken and an unknown ninja were fighting in a duel when, in the duel, Ken died. Ryu, Ken's son, was in his father's room when he found a letter. It said that he might not return, and that he should go visit an archaeologist in America, and he should take his sword with him. While following his father's advice, he decides to get revenge for his death. Now, this is just a brief overview of the story. There is a lot more that goes on, but I just wanted to give a quick overview. Overall, I think the story is very good, especially for an NES game. Now, let's talk about the cutscenes in the game. Now, these aren't short cutscenes like Pac-Man. No, these are long anime cutscenes with great detail and animation, especially for the NES. There was really nothing like it at the time, except this game. Overall, I feel the cutscenes do a great job at complementing the story. Now you may be asking, how's the actual game? Well, the gameplay might just be as good, if not better, than the story. The game plays as your typical side-scroller. You run, jump, and attack with your sword. What makes this game really cool, however, is the wall jump. Here you can jump from wall to wall and makes regular platforming just a whole lot more fun. Also, the controls are great. When you mess up, it's not the game's fault for being cheap, it's your fault for not playing well, and that's how it should be. Pure skill. The game has the same formula of Castlevania, play through some levels and then fight the boss. It even has the item bar and the enemy energy bar, like in Castlevania, but the difference here is that the stiff controls in Castlevania don't apply here. In Castlevania, jumping was a chore, as when you made a jump, you couldn't change the direction of it. Also, jumping felt very heavy, so hopefully when you made a jump, it better be a good one. But in this game, the jumps feel more smooth. You can jump higher and you can kind of change the direction of the jump. The game features a ninja, and because of that, the game should feel like being a ninja, and this game succeeds in that. Ryu controls fast, and when you stop moving, he stops right on the dime. This game has some of the greatest controls on the system, and for that, I'll give the controls a good rap. Next, we should talk about the level design itself. The levels themselves are great, as each level takes advantage heavily of the wall jump. The levels also contain lots of items for your item box. Some notable ones are the fire, returning shurikens, and the spin jump. And the scenery is great, as it shows what is going on in the story. But one thing that sucks about the levels are the enemies and the enemy placement. The enemies themselves are alright, but are very generic. They range from men with machine guns, walking swordsmen, and football players? Just kidding, I think they are soldiers. But now, let's talk about the enemy placement. I hate this. The enemy placement isn't always terrible, but at a lot of times it is outright infuriating. The enemies can be placed on small ledges when you have to jump and hit them, and oh wait, I forgot to mention, there's knockback. So when you jump, make sure it's the right position, or else prepare to see and hear this all the time. This brings me to my next point, the difficulty. The difficulty is hard, but pretty fair. Most of the time. Again, when you die, it is usually your fault, but sometimes it can be ruthless with the knockback and again, enemy placement. The game starts off easy, but progressively gets hard. The game starts really ramping up at around Act 5. But the one level I can't stand is 6-2. 6-2 is the worst thing since New Coke. It's the worst thing since the 2016 election. It's the worst thing since... I actually don't know. All I know is it will teach you how to be a man while kicking you in the throat. It has a plethora of enemies bouncing you back and forth, constantly losing health, and there's nothing you can do about it because recovery time runs out fast. There is lots of knockback, making it hard to progress, and not a lot of items for those hard to reach enemies. All of this makes this level for the perfect, amazing, stress-inducing, anger-making, controller-breaking buffet. It's insane. After 30 minutes of playing that same stage, you'll move on to the last true level. It's not as bad as that other level, but it is a bit challenging. And then, after that, you move on to the final bosses. There are 3, but I only beat 1, and while recording, that was the first time I beat it. But let's just say you died on one of those final bosses. What would happen? Well, just watch. Yep, you saw that. It's back to more 6-1, 6-2, and 6-3. Oh my god, who did this? This is one of the biggest issues in the game. Normally when you die on a boss, you just start at the beginning of the last level. But this last boss is like, how can we make the player go insane? Maybe by changing the perfectly fine rule of going back to the same stage, you go back to the last 3 stages. Ugh, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But now, let's move on to the last thing, the music. The music, on the other hand, is amazing. All the music is great, but some stand out a little bit more. Some of my favorites are Level 3-1, the boss music, and Act 2-1. Here, take a listen. This concludes my review. In conclusion, while this game has somewhat poor enemy placement and a sometimes ludicrous difficulty, Ninja Gaiden is still a great game. It succeeds at being fun, having great controls, great story, and great music. If you want to try it, you can buy it on the Virtual Console for about $5, or you can find an original copy, or you can play it on the NES Classic Edition, if you can find it. Either way you play it, you're still getting a great game. Overall, I give this game a 9 out of 10, which is very good, but I think they made the game unfair at points. Well, this is the Magfish64 here, and I'll see you in the next video, whenever that may be.